In the studio, it's Senator Dennis DeBar, District 43, and it's Chris Johnson with him. I just want to make sure here. Yes! Morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Hey, good morning.
It's good to see you. Watching both of you in action on. Well, I've seen Senator DeBar present his arguments and his bills on the floor, and you guys do a great job. Are you comfortable with that yet, Senator?
I'm getting there. Slowly but surely.
It does take a while, does it not?
It absolutely does. It's not something that I'm accustomed to, and being a lawyer helps, but, still standing up there with 51 other senators bearing on you, it can be daunting at times.
Well, let me say this: if you present a bill and you don't know what you're talking about, or it's haphazardly put together, you are going to suffer for that, and be certainly as a virgin stepping up for the very first time. It's not good news. Chris, how are you doing, sir?
Wonderful. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. Tell me a little bit about your district.
So, Senate District 45 is all of Perry County and most of Forest County.
I need you to get a little bit closer to the mic here. Just pull it up there, manhandle it. There you
How's
go.
that?
Thank you. That's perfect.
Senate District 45 is all of Perry County and most of Forest County.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been represented. This is my first term, so this is third session in that district. And before that, I was in the House.
Well, you're a veteran too now, so there's no more jitters at all. So there you go. You know where the bathrooms are.
I found those.
And Chris is the vice chair of finance, so he's got a very important position. He does a good job for the Senate.
I don't know if you met the Department of Education superintendent on their way out, maybe in the parking lot, but the topic at 8:50 or 7:50 was one of the bills that you've authored. Let's talk about that as far as decreasing the salary of the Mississippi Superintendent of Education.
Well, it's something that we passed. It's a double referred bill that we passed out of education that's going to appropriations. And it's not just the state superintendent. It's the IHL commissioner and the community college board director. What we've noticed, and I've noticed for several years and heard from constituents and just generally people around the state is, why is the salary so high for those three individuals? And you look at it, and this is no negative reflection on any of these three individuals. They're doing a great job. But the state superintendent with fringe makes $370,000, and the IHL director makes $424,000, and the community college board director is $284,000 on their salary. So we're just, I think we can find people that are qualified that we can do the job for $250,000. So
this would not be connected to them. It would be at the end of their whenever they leave, and
it'd be when their contract ends, and the new contract is. I guess.
Well, how much longer does those contracts run?
Basically, they're set by the board, their boards, and they'll end, at different varying times.
Does IHL also get a home with that?
Do they have a home with that?
Do they have a home with that?
I've heard that. I can't verify that, but I've heard.
So you don't know
that.
If they actually have a that would figure in there, would it not?
I think it might as well.
At one point. We had a lot of people saying that there was the rule was 90% of whatever IHL was. So when IHL cut a contract, it kind of bounced over to the Department of Education, et cetera. Did it not? It
may. All I know is we had a bill yesterday that passed overwhelmingly in the Senate Education Committee. It was a bipartisan vote. It's very popular. It's on to actually universities and colleges. Senator Parks has the bill now, and if there's changes that need to be made to it, so be it. But I just wanted the topic going, and I think it's definitely happened. And I think if we get a bill this session, it's great. If not, then I'll reintroduce it next year.
Does it have favor in the Senate since it was double referred?
I think if it went to the Senate floor, I think it'd pass. To be honest with you.
Chris, when you start talking about this, and if I got a contract for $370,000 as the Department of Education's superintendent, and all of a sudden, I rolled on to renew that contract, I'm losing $120,000. So there could be some change.
Yes, $10,000 a month is a significant change.
Yes, that would be a pretty good change.
Yes, sir.
So what about IHL at $424,000 with or without the House? What will the new salary be for the new person at IHL under a new contract?
It would be the same. It'd be $250 for each of the three individuals.
Oh, is that right? $250 for each one?
Correct.
Okay. I don't even know where to begin. Let's talk about the CRT first of all, because There's, and I don't know if you heard Dr. Wright a few moments ago, and I am in agreement in some points on this SEL. The SEL might be one of those things, with or without the input of the state legislature when this was enacted, whatever it happened to be, about some of this course and these curriculums. They could be taken out of context by the teachers. There's a lot of leeway to do that. And I always say, you've got to be involved in your school. You've got to know what's going on. Most people don't even have any idea who school board members are, whether it's during the election time or not. But speak to the CRT, because it was a day that was actually highlighted or spotlighted nationwide with the national media that the Black Caucus walked out. Your thoughts on this, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I think it was Senator McClendon drafted this bill and introduced it. It had the support of 20 other Republican co-authors, and it was the bill that we decided to bring up and let Senator McClendon defend and present on the floor. What happened that Friday, I think Senator McClendon did a good job just explaining the bill, that basically that no student, no child should be taught that they're superior or inferior, and that's what the bill does. And what happened in the walkout that day, I mean, that's what they chose to do. And, I have a very good relationship, a working relationship with those folks on both sides of the aisle. And, it happened, and we just move on, and that's just the way it is. And so I don't have any ill feelings or anything regarding that, and we'll it just happened, and we'll just move on.
Where is that bill now?
The bill was passed. It's sent on to the House.
And the House has that.
Correct.
Do they have a comparable bill, or is there going to be it'll come back as it is?
I haven't talked to Chairman Bennett about it. I know that several CRT bills were introduced in the House. I'm not sure if they've taken one up yet. But generally, as you know, Paul, these things get worked out in conference, and I imagine that this probably will happen in this case.
Where are we, Senator Johnson, as far as the House and Senate getting together? Much like they did on medical marijuana, it would be nice if we could get together and find differences on the teacher pay raise and go on and get that taken care of. Where are we with that?
Well, at the beginning stages, we've both passed our own versions. I think that we find similarities in both, that we both recognize the issues. Obviously, partial to the Senate plan, which has incentives for staying in 5-year increments. But both plans will get the starting salaries of teachers up, which will make us much more competitive and hopefully attract more teachers into schools. I believe the last number I saw was that we're roughly 3,000 K through 12 teachers short in the state right now. Anything we can do to increase that number or increase the number of teachers we have will benefit all the students in Mississippi.
Where do you think that the House bill fails in getting that done?
So I've not researched the House bill significantly. I can tell you that I think the numbers I've seen show that the Senate bill has a higher trajectory after about year 6. So around year 6, we are above the House plan, and so I think that's more beneficial long-term for teachers. And I also like the 5-year increments on the Senate side versus the House plan, but I think both plans have positives, and we're moving in the right direction.
Well, here's the thing to say about that, Paul, is ultimately the teachers are going to be the winners in this whole thing. To have the House and the Senate and even the governor coming out and saying we need to make teachers our first priority, you're going to have a bill that has over $200,000 invested in teachers. And so that means in the last 2 years, we will have invested $250 million in teachers, and that just goes to show the will of the legislature, where their priority is, and we just want to take care of them because of what they've had to do over the last several years with COVID, the increased responsibility they have, and so we need to show their appreciation, reduce the teacher shortage that we've had, and I think with our plan we can attract new teachers and incentivize the teachers that we already have to stay in Mississippi and keep teaching, and that's what our plan does with those 5-year bumps, and to incentivize, to motivate our teachers to stay in Mississippi versus going to Alabama or Tennessee or Louisiana.
I agree. I think it's going to be kind of, to use a sports analogy, as a team that constantly winds up in last place. All of a sudden, you look up and we're battling for first place and maybe the championship, because when all of this turns around, and I don't want to be redundant on this, but you put together with the package that's going to come out one way or the other, if it's a blend or the House or the Senate, along with everything else. And if you guys could do the personal income tax, groceries, tag, cost of living, and everything else, we're going from last place to a pretty enviable position. We'll talk about those other things such as personal income tax when we come back with Chris Johnson and also Senator Dennis DeBar. Dennis is the chairman of education in the Mississippi Senate. That and more. In the House, it is Senator Dennis DeBar, District 43, and also Senator Chris Johnson is Vice Chairman of Finance. Josh Harkins is the chairman of that one, is he not? I think he is.
Yes, sir.
Over in the Senate. There are so many different bills here. I did notice one in the Finance Committee. I lost it now here, but there was a couple of interesting ones in Finance. Alcoholic beverages revives the definition of qualified resort area. I've heard that talk about a couple of times. Do they just want to do away with the resort area altogether, and you don't have to get a specific designation of that, or what's that bill about? Do you know, Chris?
I believe that bill, the one that I'm aware of, adds a new area for resort status. So amending that definition just adds a new area. And
I got you.
In previous years, anyone who wants to add an area has tagged along to a bill like that.
I'm hitting you guys cold with this, and I know there are literally hundreds and hundreds of bills, so don't feel bad if you don't know anything about a particular bill. But does anybody know where we are as far as the wine and liquor? That's important to all of us in the state, especially now under the Biden administration. So do we know what's going to happen with that? Is there any movement at all that you guys can tell us about?
Are you speaking about the warehouse specifically?
Yeah, I'm talking about the warehouse situation we've been bouncing around for now for several years.
So the House passed a bill out of their committee yesterday for the state to get out of the business altogether. And the Senate will bring up in committee today a bill that would keep the state involved but privatize the operations of the warehouse. And we believe that, and we would also be building a new warehouse with upgraded equipment to improve logistics. And so we'll be working with the House.
Would that be at the same location or a different location?
I believe we were going to do a new location when we build a warehouse.
And what would happen to that warehouse there in Gluckstadt?
Either repurposed for the state or sold.
Do we have a location that the Senate's going to ask for in there?
Not a specific location. We want to leave it open. We're going to prioritize state-owned lands within 50 miles of the state capital. However, we do want to weigh the costs of site prep with non-state-owned lands to see.
Do you have any idea what the bill is on the cost factor on that one is?
I've got a range of prices, anywhere between 50 and 60 million to get the building built and set up.
A building bigger than the one in Gluckstadt, to do that and have it set up with all of the inside and everything else at 50 to 60 million?
That's correct, yes, sir. That's the quotes that we have so far.
And that's buying land also, or land that's already acquired?
Well, that's land that we already have acquired.
I got you. In the House bill that passed yesterday, basically says to get the same thing, but would be no government involved except just the normal legislative overview.
Yes, that's correct. I think that there's obviously we're a long ways away, but I think there's a good chance that we can come together and work something out. Something has to be done, and the more we put it off, the worse it is for consumers.
Somewhere in that one, it looks like somewhere down the line, as far as this legislative session, we'll finally get something taken care of, because the problems have just continued to be mounting as far as. And we know we had all the supply chain problems, too, so some of it is beyond our control. We understand that. Senate Bill 2416, unused leave accumulated by teacher who transferred to another school district, allow this to be credited. A Dennis DeBar bill, right?
Correct. That's just a bill. It seems like a pretty simple bill, just to just allow teachers who want to go to transferred school districts for whatever reason that they don't lose their leave, sick leave. I mean, I would have thought that would have been already allowed, but I guess this is one of those things that we've heard from teachers that they said they would would like to see done, along with the pay raise and some of the other bills that we've done, the bi-monthly pay. That's kind of one of the things we've heard on the listening tour that we did last year is, why can't we get paid twice a month instead of going really a whole month at times without being paid? And, and the other one is that we have on the calendar is moving up the deadline so they can get the supply card fund. So, we're going to move that deadline up, and Senator Johnson will be handling that bill on the floor probably today. And it's just no-brainer stuff that, you think that would be a no-brainer, but that's just what's other things that we've heard from teachers, and we're trying to help teachers as much as we can as what, like I said,
I agree with you. Senate, you guys go in at 10 o'clock this morning. The House is in at 2 o'clock this afternoon. But you are right. I mean, that payment plan, we've heard about this for several years, that they get paid once a month, and why would not? It should be pretty easy to go in and convert that over.
Well, I've heard some feedback from business managers and superintendents around that it may may incur an increased cost to do that, but this just allows them to do that if they so choose, and that's if enough teachers in that district want that to happen, they can go to their superintendent and say, hey, make it happen.
Well, I can also see, you're talking about common sense. I can also see a teacher who is in one school, wants to go to another school where there's an opening, and probably she would be closer to home or something else, and she's not going to want to lose all of her vacation time on the transfer and the unused leave that has been accumulated. So I think it's one of the other things, and I agree with you. Why haven't we done this in the past?
Well, it's just another one of those things that we would keep teachers in Mississippi, and so if we can do that and make it less stressful for them, I'm all for it.
I don't want to run out of time before we just ask you, what's the most important thing right now that you guys are talking about that you want to spotlight to the audience?
Well, there's several issues we've got left in this session, as you know, Paul. We've got everything from redistricting. We've got to allocate the ARPA money, the $1.8 billion in ARPA money. Senator Polk in the Senate has done a great job chairing that committee, and we've come out with a really good plan for that, and we passed a few bills on that. $750 million going to water and sewer lines for cities, counties, and water associations. That's truly amazing. Fixing up CPS, maybe we can get out from that federal lawsuit, appropriate money to that. So, and the law enforcement death benefit, making sure that any law enforcement officer who passes away due to COVID, we reimburse them. So a lot of good things coming out. We've still got the initiative process to deal with as well, and so it's going to be a very big session. And I think it already has. When you start talking about the House and Senate getting together on a medical marijuana bill and came together on some of the differences, hopefully that'll be done sooner than later as far as the teacher. Do you think it'll happen? I think it'll happen. I think all the House, the Senate, and the governor all want to see this happen, so I don't see why it shouldn't.
Well, if you guys can get together on those two things, don't you think you could come together on the personal income tax?
I think so. And I think Senator Harkins and Senator Johnson have been working really hard to make it happen.
Let me ask him, since he's here as Vice Chairman of Finance, what's the very latest on that?
Well, I believe Chairman Harkins will be coming out in the next day or two to release the Senate plan. In the Senate, we want to have long-term durable tax relief, and we want to do that without raising taxes. And so the plan that we'll present will be just that, something that we believe we can sustain in Mississippi without raising taxes on Mississippians.
Without increasing the sales tax at all?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Well, I can remember,
go ahead.
Paul, I was just to add to that. I remember when we passed the 3% elimination, and Governor Reeves was then Lieutenant Governor and Speaker. I think I was in the House at the time, and we just took a slow, deliberate process. Lieutenant Governor then Reeves, we looked at the bills. We didn't rush into anything, and ultimately we came with a good resolution of a plan. So what we don't want to have happen is in 2026, when the federal money that's been injected into our economy is no longer there,
I agree. Yeah.
That we end up like Kansas and we end up having to raise taxes. Because
let me ask you this in the limited time that we have here, and again, it's Senator Dennis DeBar and Senator Chris Johnson. because we want to move into this slowly, but so do you think not slowly by the House's version saying if you made $40,000 or less, there is no income tax, and then we'll step it up a little bit higher in income over actually a 12-year period? When we got a final segment here, and I'd like to ask you about that. Is that not phasing it in, or will the Senate bill that Senator Harkins will unveil, you said tomorrow or the next day, Chris?
I think in the next few days, yes, sir.
Next few days? Is it different than that? It's a short segment, but I want to make sure we clear this up before we leave today's program. Let's do that when we come over. Hope it's 10 o'clock. You got plenty of time to hit the traffic and make it. Senator Dennis DeBar and Chris Johnson. Chris, here's a good for your finance expertise here. Chris from Oxford, $30,000 salary divided by 12 months is $2,500 a month on $30,000 salary. We're talking about teachers. $30,000 salaried biweekly is $32,500 a year, and maybe that's why the House or the Senate doesn't want to do it. So your statement to that?
Is it
$30,000 salary divided by 12 months is $2,500?
Twice monthly.
It's bi-monthly.
I think it's bi-monthly.
Bi-monthly is $25.
Maybe $1,250 twice per month. I got you.
Well, that cleared that one up. Okay, just to finish up what we were talking about, and anything else that we want to mention. What were we talking about? I absolutely forgot.
Taxes when we broke off.
Oh, we were talking about the taxes, and the question was this: is the differences between the House and Senate bill that you think Senator Harkins is going to put forth? If it phases it in, what would you call the House bill? Because I would think that would also be calling phasing it in at $40,000 and then moving the household income incrementally up to where it doesn't actually go away till 12 years. How will that differ in the Senate version that will be presented?
Well, I'll let Chairman Harkins give all the details, but I believe that the biggest difference you'll see is that we are not raising sales tax. And so that will, of course, change how it's phased in. The House's plan, as you said, raises the exemption. I don't believe that we'll take that same approach in the Senate, but I'd prefer to wait and let Chairman. I understand
that. So do you think that's going to be basically the only difference in those two bills?
We'll see when he rolls it out. I think there's a couple other small details that may be different.
I got you. And you said in the next few days.
I think what's important here is, in this Biden economy of high inflation and supply shortage and so forth, is how can we get money in the pockets of our citizens as soon as possible, whether it's the grocery tax reduction or some type of rebate or whatever the case may be. I think we need to get money in our pockets of our citizens so they can pay these exorbitant prices that this Biden economy has given us. And so I think Senator Harkins and Johnson are working on that, and I think they're going to have a fantastic plan coming forward in the next couple of days. And what the main thing is, I think ever since the House bill came out last year, the Senate has been steadfast in not raising taxes. And that's why I don't think you'll see a sales tax increase. And, because there are those on fixed incomes that just can't afford even just the incremental.
Well, I agree.
Increases in taxes.
Do both of you gentlemen think, as far as you know, and then we're almost out of time, but as far as you know, Chris, the grocery tax and the car tag will remain basically the same?
Those factors will be in the Senate bill as well.
They haven't negated those. They'll be in there.
Yes, sir.
All right, gentlemen, final thoughts from Chris Johnson.
Well, thank you for having me on this morning, and we have a wide variety of bills. As you know, the deadline next week is a really big deadline in that we eliminate 80+% of the bills that are out there.
That's on Tuesday?
Yes, sir, on Tuesday. So then we'll get a really accurate idea of what we'll be bringing out this year, and so working hard this week on a wide variety of issues, and anxious to see what next week brings.
Final thoughts from Dennis DeBar. What do you think, sir?
Well, I'm going to close like I always do, and I just want to thank our educators, our teachers, our administrators working working in our schools throughout this state. The job you're doing is tremendous. I heard Dr. Wright and Pete talk about all the improvements we've made in this state over the last few years, and it couldn't be done without our educators. And so I thank you. Keep up the good work, and anything we can do in the legislature, please get a hold of me. Thank you.
Any feedback you two guys have gotten as far as the passage of the medical marijuana bill?
I think everybody's just glad to have it. I know that it's on the governor's desk. We're hoping he gets that resolved quickly.
Yeah.
And then I think 120 days from passage and signage, we'll start moving along in the process. And I think that's a good thing for Mississippians, and it's a good thing for those that need the medical marijuana.
Just got a note from one of the pro-marijuana people that said that bill passed by a larger margin in medical marijuana than any other state in the union. Have you heard that?
Well, it's definitely a veto-proof majority, and so
it certainly is.
I think the legislature heard the will of the citizens, and we took action appropriately.
Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it very, very much. I know, and again, you guys gavel in at 10. The House gavels in